Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mormonish. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Landon.
And you can't help but recognize the face of our guest today. We are absolutely thrilled. This has been something we've been hoping would happen for a while. We have the wonderful mayor of Fairview, Henry Lessner, with us. How are you today, Henry?
I am equally excited to be here, Rebecca and Landon. You guys are famous in our town. We appreciate the publicity that you give us, the cause that we have to deal with as we're dealing with the LDS Church. And you've been a great resource for us as far as even contacts and stuff in different towns that we talked with, just to kind of find out what they're thinking as we're thinking of things. So yeah, I'm very glad to be here, and it's an honor to be with you guys.
Oh, we're absolutely thrilled. Do you have any first thoughts, Landon? I know we're kind of starstruck, right? It's Mayor Lessner.
Well, we've got to call him Mayor Lessner because he has earned that title, I think, in the last year as we've watched. And his leadership has just shown through as we've watched it, what goes on and the town. And we've just fallen in love with the town of Fairview. So it's exciting to get to hear you and meet you today.
Well, I'm equally excited to meet y'all and talk with y'all. You're welcome anytime to come down. We'll take you to breakfast with the mayor with everybody, so you can meet all the folks that we have. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of people who will watch this when it streams tomorrow.
Right.
We have a lot of people that are interested in what's going on. So
we've got to tell you how much your town, how good your town is. As you know, we were going to come down during the hearings, whatever you call them,
in August. Yeah, and I had a family emergency.
And a family emergency, and they sent us food.
They sent casseroles. They mailed things and a care package.
Cowboy boot here. Yeah, my cowboy boot right here that they sent. And they were just wonderful.
We couldn't believe it.
So that's the kind of people we have in Fairview, Texas. One of the things I always do is I write a monthly mayor's message to the town. And I always end it with, remember how lucky we are to live in a town like this. There are a lot of people. The other interesting thing about that is we have numerous, there's probably 5, I think, that CEOs of major nonprofits live in Fairview. So I always remind people that, these people live in Fairview. Let's support their nonprofits. And all of them are, they have to do with homeless shelter, the biggest food bank in the area. She lives in Fairview. People that provide homes, money for rent and utilities, that kind of stuff. We have a woman who gets kids out of sexual slavery. They build houses for them, and they take them under their wings until they're able to, go out into the world again. We have some really, really, really generous people in the town of Fairview.
No, I am not surprised to hear that at all.
I was actually born very near there, and I was looking forward to see where I was born because I left Texas. My dad was in the military there.
Right.
I was born at Beach Army Hospital. That's Fort Walters. It's shut down now, but we looked it up, and there's a ghost tour there. The hospital's still there that I was born in.
Oh my gosh.
So I wanted to go see that, but very near there. So
come down and visit. We'd love to see you in person. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. No, we would love it. And I guess if there's anyone that, we just said Mayor Lessner and assumes everyone knows, we'll just explain that, Fairview is a town in Texas where the LDS Church is proposing to build a temple. And it's been going on for about a year. On Mormonish, we've been podcasting about it quite a bit. We have a Fairview Temple playlist on our YouTube channel. If you want to get up to speed, you'd have to watch how many hours do you think, Landon? Quite a bit to get up to speed. But it's kind of come to a point now after mediation where it looks like there may be, a lawsuit that the church is kind of threatening. And so, that's really unfortunate for everybody involved. And we hope that doesn't happen. And so we're happy and excited to have Mayor Lessner on just to kind of talk a little bit about Fairview, what makes it unique, and, get to know Fairview. And he has some other things that he wants to tell us about. So at first, maybe you can just introduce us to yourself a little bit. How long have you been mayor? How did you become mayor? Just a little bit about that. And then let's just start talking about Fairview and some of the things that have been happening.
Sure. Thank you. So I've lived in Fairview since 1990. My family and I kind of would call Texas home. We did a couple tours around the country, lived in Huntsville, Alabama for a little bit, Connecticut. I worked out of New York for a while, Northern Virginia, and then we got back to Texas in 1990. And we've lived in Fairview since then. We're now in our third Fairview house. Our first house we built, like a lot of people. Fairview is a very unique place in this area. Large homes on large lots. The residential side of our town, most of it is 1 acre, 2 acre, 3 acres, 6 acres. We have alpacas, longhorns, all sorts of stuff all over the place. We have people that have like game cameras out. They catch the coyotes and raccoons and skunks at night. We have a creek that bisects our town. Sloan Creek it's called, and a lot of wildlife movement along there. Another reason why we're a dark skies town for that purpose. But yeah, so I've been in Fairview since 1990. If anybody would look at my resume, so to speak, I've been a volunteer and I've been the president of many multiple large nonprofits here. I've been very active in the United Methodist Church. On one of the big deals, I was on their board of ordained ministry for 12 years, and that is the group that decides whether somebody gets to be a pastor or not. Big responsibility I took that, but we did that. So I've been mayor since, not mayor, I've been on the town council since 2010. I served, we have term limits. You serve 3 2-year terms, so 6 years, and then you're done. And then if you lay out a year, you can run again. So I was on for 6 years. I laid out a year thinking I had done my elected public service. And there was a bond issue going on at the time that wasn't going well, and I was able to help with that. So the mayor at that time, who's a good friend of mine, Darren Culbertson, asked me if I would run again. And I did. And lucky for me, nobody ran against me. So I was on council again. So that was my 8 years on council. My friend Darian, he was term limited out, and I was kind of the logical person to take his place because of my tenure with the town and what was going on. So I was elected mayor, and I've been now reelected twice. So but I'm nearing the end of my tenure. May is the end of my tenure.
This May.
Just
in 2 months, yes.
Wow. So that makes what's going on even more interesting here than
yeah, it does.
If you're going to be leaving before that whole process gets done. So
I have we have our mayor pro tem, John Hubbard, who has been with us for we served one term, I think, on the council, and he was in his second, the first year of his second term. John ran for mayor to replace me. So John and I have been traveling around. We've talked extensively about this. He gets to meet everybody I meet. You'll have to get him on the show one of these days. So yeah, John has a lot of really good experience, and he's going to be taking over in May.
Well, so what would you like to share with everybody just about what's been happening in Fairview? Catch us up to speed.
So the big deal right now is, as everybody knows, that we went through mediation. The LDS folks that we were with, again, attorneys is all we knew that were there. That they came to us with a much smaller building. As we went into the mediation, it was always the issue of how big the building is. The site they want to put the temple is, they chose well. It's probably the highest point on the residential side of our town. It is right next to a meeting house. It's been there since 2016. By the way, the meeting house is the tallest building in town. It goes up to about 67 feet. Up at the top of their steeple.
And that's an LDS meeting house.
That is an LDS meeting house. And there was no controversy, anything about that. The controversy was, and there wasn't really controversy, it was lighting. We are dark skies, and we're very sensitive to basically having no lights on at night if we can arrange that. And they have been very cooperative, especially since they were cooperative in the first place. They meet our dark skies ordinances, as far as I know. And now, since we've had the temple stuff, they've actually turned the lights off, which, we appreciate that. So anyway, so we did the mediation. They came in with the original building was 174 feet high. The big deal, the building itself, though, if you were to see our town hall is 65 feet high and about 22,000 square feet. The temple that they were proposing was literally twice that size. It was 65 feet, 43,000 square feet, with then a steeple that went up to 174 feet, higher than our water towers. It would have just been, they don't like when I say this, but it would have been an eyesore. It would have stuck out like a sore thumb. It is so different than everything around there, including their meeting house. And it just, needless to say, the town was in an uproar about that when they first saw that. So when we went to mediation, our focus was on the building size. So what they came back with was something like Yorba Linda. The building, if you look at it, it's about 35 feet high. And then in the middle, there's a little thing that goes up 10 feet. And then they have a tower that goes up on top of that. It goes up to about 120 feet. And in the mediation, myself and my mayor pro tem, John Hubbard, the gentleman I just spoke about, and our town manager and our town attorney were in that from our side. And John and I, being representative of the elected officials, we said, yes, we will go with that. So what we committed to do after that was we would go back and we would discuss this among ourselves with the council. And the council, looking at it from the perspective of, they made a big concession on the building size. We didn't like the 120 foot. No, we've never liked that, but we said better than what we had before. So therefore, the council then unanimously, there's 7, only 6 were there to vote, but unanimously accepted that design. Our next step was to take it to our residents. We took it to our residents, and our residents were not happy with it. They wanted to see more, and especially a reduction in the size of the tower, as I call it. They were happy again and thankful that the LDS folks compromised on the side of the building, size of the building. And what we've been doing since then is having discussions about the size of the tower, as I call it. So again, I'll repeat, and I do this several times. I did, earlier with a TV interview I did. I said it twice to the LDS folks that the council, I think, will approve this. Mm-hmm. They got to get the plans. They've committed to go through the process. They should have submitted the plans for the new building on January 13th. They chose not to, and they chose to send us a letter about 8 days later, a notice of suit. And supposedly the reason they're doing this is because, I talk about it too much. They don't trust us. They think we're lying. We're not going to approve it and all that stuff. And, I don't know how more clearly to say, I think we're going to approve it. And, our residents don't like that. So what are our residents looking for me to do as the highest elected official in the town of Fairview? I continue to talk about this. I'm hoping that maybe somebody will recognize the fact that LDS Church, if you want to be welcomed in the town of Fairview, you can go build whatever you want to build, and the building we've mediated is a good one. I'm okay with that, but make that tower like 70 feet, like Yorba Linda is, or something like that. So our residents are very, very involved in watching you guys, and they watch what goes on in the other cities. And we're talking about thousands of people here being involved in this, and they know what's going on. So they're saying, well, they did it for Yorba Linda. Why can't they do it for us? What's the big deal? It doesn't change the size of the temple in one shape or another at all. They still have their 2 celestial rooms, whatever goes, the other rooms that are in there. It's just something attached to the top of the building. They've told us why that's important to them. It makes them look up to God. And I get that, but this isn't the 20th or the 12th or 13th or 14th century Europe, where everybody's trying to build a bigger building than everybody else, a bigger steeple. Their meeting house is perfectly good, and we're giving them the opportunity to go a little bit higher than that. So that's kind of our frustration now, is that. So what you hear me talking about is, here I am, I'm the top elected official in the town of Fairview. I have never met a decision maker in the LDS Church at all. It's all their attorneys from Salt Lake City, their local attorneys that they have here. The local attorneys they have here, they're good people. They're litigators. That's what they do. They sue people. And I get that. But the people in Salt Lake City, why will they not talk to me about this? I want them to take a visit to Fairview. I will come and bring pictures of it. I want you to know, if you want to be really welcomed, reduce the size of the steeple or the tower, as I call it. We may go ahead with it. You may go ahead and build it. But if you don't care what being a good neighbor is, that's your problem, and you suffer the consequences. You're not going to get any good publicity from your neighbors. What we're offering is, if you come in at 70 feet, this is a done deal. You'll walk right through the process. I think they'd walk through the process anyway, because what I've said, we will approve it at 120 feet. The council will. But there's a lot of people, thousands of people in Fairview who don't want that to happen, and in adjacent towns too, by the way. But anyway, that's kind of where we are right now. I am trying to talk to everybody I possibly can. I'm kind of doing a media blitz, and I'm looking forward to somebody from Salt Lake City hearing this. I know they hear, I know they watch what we do. I would like for somebody to respond to me and offer me, I'll come up to them, no problem at all. I'll come up, I'll bring my Mayor Pro Tem John will come with me, and we will come up there and we'll sit down with you and talk about what it's like in Fairview. Why is this a big deal? Anyway, that's where we are.
And there it is. No, I'm so glad that you explained it kind of in a nutshell there. And I can see how it would be very frustrating, especially to people who aren't LDS, all your wonderful residents there, to think, look, there's a temple design. Yorba Linda Temple is what we're talking about when we say Yorba Linda. And we've done a podcast on this that would fit perfectly there. And, you know, in this state, there's this temple with no spire. They're very different all over. Not every temple has a spire that's that tall. And so I think it is hard for a lot of us to understand why there couldn't be some kind of, you know, not even concession, but just a different kind of a plan. I think maybe it's a different era in temple building now, with different leaders that have different points of view on it. We've talked to former church temple architects who have told us, oh yeah, they used to meet with towns where there were concerns and kind of come to an agreement or a consensus. And this would be the architect coming out to the town. And as you're saying, you're not seeing that at all. You're getting
we have had no one
from
the only people from Salt Lake City we met are attorneys.
Exactly. And it's interesting because the church says a lot in their statements, because I read everything put out by the church about it and by, you know, Fairview back and forth. They say the town council will not meet with our attorneys. You know, they keep saying that as if that's something, you know, disparaging you. But
and let me address why.
Please
do. They want to do it. They're all about confidential. And of course, we're not about confidential. We are a government, elected, democratically elected officials. Whatever we do has to be transparent. And we can't meet with their attorneys in a closed session. It just doesn't work that way. We can meet with them in a big group, you know, outside, and we'd have 1,000 people there listening to us. I'm sure they don't want to do that, but we cannot. It is not legal for us to meet that way. It has nothing to do with whether we want to or not. It is a legality, and their attorneys certainly should know that.
Yeah. I hope everyone heard that, because that's, you know, what all of us have been trying to say the entire time. The town council's hands are tied. They are a democracy with a democratic process. The church is a theocracy, you know, so when the church says, get your people on board, in a church, you can do that, at least in the LDS church. You can't do that as a publicly elected official. You can listen to the voices of the people. You can hear them. You can take them into consideration, but you can't push things through as an elected official.
And again, that's why I think they are somewhat maybe confused, because again, we did agree with the mediated settlement. That building we agreed to go forward with. But why are we continuing to talk about it? It's because our residents, who we represent, want us to, you know, and it's the right thing for us to do. We represent them, so the church needs to hear what our townsfolks, thousands of them, think about what's going on. And we're trying to be, I mean, in a way should be helpful to the church.
You know, that's what I see is I hear you saying, let us help you help yourself by saying, look, if you went lower, this would be sell through. Our town folks would be happier. We as the elected officials, it's going to be more able for us to pass this because you made those concessions. So you want a temple, you keep telling us how important it is. We're saying, here's how you can do it even faster and get it done. And it was kind of interesting to me because as I read the mediation letter, you guys did the first two things that were required.
We did what they asked us to. And they're the ones that backed out of it. They backed out. And why did they back out? On no proof, no nothing. They backed out and they said that we're going to sue you. And by the way, the suit is if they were to win, if they do sue us, and if they win, they go back to the 174-foot building, which is just outrageous.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question as a mayor, because this is a problem. You probably never, I don't know if you'd heard of RLUIPA prior to.
Not before that, but I'm pretty aware of it now. Yes.
But as
we all know it now.
Yes.
And as a public official, I mean, this argument that a church can just come in and do whatever they want and they get to make the decisions. How does that play as a town mayor or as a planning board? I mean, they might as well not even have to apply for a permit if that was actually what the law is. The churches should
Yeah.
just be able to come in.
Yeah.
And what prevents some citizen, because RLUIPA does allow an individual to make a claim too, from saying, I'm going to build my house 70 feet tall and there's
Yeah.
nothing you can do about it because it's my religiously held belief that I have to have a tall ceiling to pray.
So that what you just spoke about is one of the biggest concerns of our residents. So we let the LDS meeting house go up to 67 feet. So that set a precedent. So now we're at 120 feet if the mediated building goes in. So there's another piece of property next door where the temple's going to go, where another church owns it. Suppose they, as I alluded to, medieval Europe, everybody builds the higher steeple. What if they decide to go, well, I'm going to be higher than the LDS temple. I'm going to go up to 150, or I'm going to go up to 200 feet. We've already set an example. So then we also have other places in town where there are large blocks of land. People own houses that have 4 or 6 acres. And those are homes that somebody could come in and just tear it down. And they would tear the house down. They'd have 4 to 6 acres worth of property. They could put the temple on that piece of property. But to your point is, we are worried about setting an example. That is one of the biggest fears of our residents is that they set a new example for a new height.
So wouldn't the fairest way
one other thing,
Oh.
the issue with our LUIPA, there is, if you read it, it basically says, they can, like you said, they can do pretty much whatever they want to do. But there is a provision in there that says they're supposed to follow the zoning laws of the city or the town. It clearly says it. It's right at the end, but it clearly says that. So that's why there's some people in our town. We have a bunch of attorneys in our town, including people that work in the federal court system. They say, well, you got a pretty good chance here. If somebody were to take this to court, you may have a pretty good thing to say. Now that they've backed out on this mediation thing, maybe it's even a better thing. And again, I'm quoting what the town is. I do not want a lawsuit. I'll just tell you, I do not want a lawsuit. I want to do what I can to avoid that. But we have citizens that are very wealthy and very, very, very well informed. I don't know what they do.
And it would seem like the fairest thing to do would be to be able to say as a town, this is the limit, you get this height. And I think a lot of people say, well, we don't want to put a number that we say everyone has to be to this height because everyone builds a little different and has it.
Right.
And you want to allow for that, but then you got to let the town and the planning commission and the zoning board say, okay, we can give you this, or we can't give you that because that doesn't make sense. That's why they're elected. That's why they're there as the elected officials. So it would seem like you would want to defer to them and say, you're kind of the referee here. You let us know what we can do. And I thought you did that very well in the, that you guys laid out. This is the height we're allowing. This is the walls. And they came back and they did conform with the walls. But the steeple height was still a lot higher. And you guys agreed to it. And I know that probably what made a lot of the town people mad because, you'd given them a height and they felt like, oh, we've been betrayed here. They told them that and now they're allowing this. But I also understand you're going, we're a small town. We can't afford to fight. We got millions of dollars we want to put into sidewalks and roads and other things, not into fighting
understand how small we are. We have, our planning department is one person. we have one town engineer. Other than police, fire, and our public works, we have about six staff members. That's it. Our town manager, our city secretary. That's our town. That's all we have. And they do a fabulous job for us. The rest of us are all volunteers. Everybody on our boards and commissions, the council, we are all volunteers, and we do that intentionally. There's cities around us that do pay, and we have continued to say, no, we want volunteers on our town. We want to do what we do because we love Fairview. And that is exactly what we have.
Is that a scary position when you're going against, you see the church come in with all these lawyers, and that's all you get to talk. And here you are, a volunteer, and you're trying to make sure you cross all the T's and dot all the I's and do everything just right. I know you've got your own attorney that
we have
you, but
We have really good, we have two attorneys, our town attorney, then we have one outside attorney who's won an Lupa case, by the way. So we have very good representation. They're very smart. They're wise, I guess is really what I'm looking for from an attorney. What is the right thing to say sometimes. But no, I'm not afraid of them. I told you all a little bit earlier about what I used to do. I traveled all over the world. I dealt with governments in places that are not friendly to us. And no, I'm not afraid of it. That's why I want to go and meet them. If they're not going to come meet me, I'll go meet them. I've got people that I'm considering doing this. I may just show up there one day, and we'll call a press conference and knock on the door and say, "Hey, come out and talk to me." And I'm sure they won't, but it'd be embarrassing for them if that happened.
I would hope that they would. I really would. And that's true. As Landon and I learned more about Mayor Lessner's background, he is a skilled negotiator, meaning that he can work things out so that it's for a benefit for everybody on all sides. That's what a negotiator does. And so if he could talk to somebody who was a decision maker in the church, eye to eye, shake the hand, who knows, magic could happen, right? Instead of all this back and forth with attorneys. And I think we should definitely point out that, I do monitor faithful social media, and people say, oh, the town is only doing this because these are the Mormons. This is the LDS church. That is absolutely 100% not true. And I think maybe Mayor Lessner can talk about this. This would be any group that came with a plan like this. This is not anything focused on one particular group.
We have been extremely careful, and with our residents especially. And I tell them I am so proud of them, because this is a zoning issue. Mm-hmm. That is what it is. The building that is being proposed is out of the scope of our zoning ordinances, and we're working to get them closer to meet our zoning ordinance. This is in an area of large homes, $1 million plus homes. I mean, most of the east side of our town is that way. 1 acre, 2 acre, multiple acre lots, lots of trees. Standing out is not what we want. And so their objective, I believe, and again, they haven't told me this, but what they're trying to do is stand out. Mm-hmm. And standing out is not the Fairview way. As I mentioned, dark skies, lighting, all that kind of stuff. We are very, very protective of our little town. We do things, we try. We have great relationships with other, what's the right word? We have a group called TxDOT, for instance. They build the roads, most of the roads around there. We have great relationships with them. And if you go in through Fairview, you will be coming into Fairview, coming from a town just south of us that has 6 lanes, 3 north, 3 south. And you come into Fairview, and guess what you have? You have a 2-lane asphalt road. And we do that because it's lined with trees. It blocks the noise a little bit. It blocks the lights. It gives that feel of country. And you drive on some of the neighborhood streets. We have most of our neighborhoods you can't drive through. They're one way in and one way out. There's no way to drive through them, intentionally to keep traffic out of those neighborhoods. If you drive through some of the interior neighborhoods in our town, you will see longhorns, alpacas. We have people that have night cameras and game cameras at night. And they pick up. We've actually had we have wildcats, but we've actually had a mountain lion about a year ago that passed through. But we have raccoons and skunks and all sorts of animals out there that we like to have.
Have you seen Sasquatch?
We have not seen Sasquatch.
Huge Sasquatch fans. Have you seen any Bigfoot?
Nothing like that yet. No. I understand there's actually a word for that. Those kind of animals. I just heard it on TV the other night. But anyway, that's irrelevant to this. But no, we haven't seen that. But it's quiet. I keep talking about dark skies. We have a fellow in town who has been the president of the Texas Astronomical Association, and we have in conjunction with one of the school districts, they go on their property and they put up these big antennas, and you can go in there. And we have kids go. I've taken my grandkids. And they go look at the rings of Saturn, or they go get a really close-up look at Mars or something like that, Andromeda Galaxy and stuff, because it's dark. Yeah, it's very different. I told people this the other day. This is probably a month old, but I live on the western edge of the residential area, close to our commercial area, and there's a major north-south highway over there, about a mile and a half away. But I was getting my mail at night. It was about 8 o'clock at night. And I actually looked up and I was able to see the edge of the Milky Way. I've never seen that in town before. So I was just thrilled to death that I saw that. So anyway, that was kind of a cool thing.
What's the lighting? Do you know what the lighting plan is? And will that change with the smaller temple, or is it still kind of what they were proposing before?
So originally they came in knowing that we had dark skies. And, from the very beginning, they committed to meet our dark skies ordinance. There is some discussion about wall wash, and I'm not an expert on this in any way, shape, or form, but there's a wall wash issue. One of the things we tell people, they have to make lights go down, not up. Mm-hmm. But there's something about this wall wash that again, being all white, that the reflective light would be a problem associated with that.
Yeah, it just
so
glows.
That's what's that?
It just glows. If anyone is not familiar with what an LDS temple looks like at night, simply Google that, and you will see that regardless if lights are pointing down or whatever, the white, the materials, it's just a glow that's there.
Yeah. So that is because we do have some people who are expert at lighting and stuff in town. Our town engineer also is. There is great concern about making sure whatever they bring to us, or if they ever bring something to us at the planning and zoning meeting, that the lighting will be thoroughly reviewed to make sure that we don't get into glowing building out there. and to their credit, they have told us when the temple has operating hours, and I've used this, it's kind of to me, there's a lot of administrative things that go on there. Mm-hmm. So they open in the morning and they close at night. They have work schedules. So they have told us that at the end of the day, whenever the work schedules are, they literally will turn the lights off. So that's kind of a big deal. And they've told us that more than once. Well, they've told us that more than once.
If they'll do it. Yeah, I don't know, because most temples are meant to be noticed and sort of like a billboard, and at night is when they show up.
Yeah, well, they have told us that multiple times, and these are the attorneys from Salt Lake City have said that. Within the mediation world, that's been said. It's been said more than once that they would turn the lights out. Now there's concern, the lights may not, I don't know how, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, and it's, in the wintertime, especially 6 o'clock, it's dark here. So that would mean potentially they could be on for 4 hours, or in the morning. How early do they start? I think they start at 6:30 in the morning. And those kind of issues will have to be discussed and talked about. But, again, we have nothing to work with because they chose not to do what they told us they would do, which is kind of, what can I say? Disappointing.
And that's obviously because you guys made an agreement that we'd accept but
yes,
the lighting's still open for discussion, and that has to meet the requirements. So, there's still things up for discussion. I think when it sounded like from the church's statement was that, that you said it was like the first round, or that it was still in discussion, which it is, because you still got water issues, street issues, traffic issues, lighting issues.
All of that stuff is there. And then plus, again, remember, I go back to residents. If we're hoping that the LDS Church and, the leaders in Salt Lake City understand the concerns that our residents have, and they listen with an open heart, open mind. We're not asking you, you've done a great job on the building. We're not asking you to change the building. It's the tower. And, nobody occupies the tower. There's nothing in there. What difference does it make if it's 100 feet or 70 feet? I understand to some degree why they say that, but that's not the style today.
Yep. No, I fully agree with that. And I think there is a misunderstanding, because when you did say it's the beginning of the process, it seemed like some people took that as a negative thing, but you were just stating the facts. You really have so much to go through in a civic process.
There is a process that we are by law have to go through. There's no shortcuts that we can do this. And all I'm asking you to do, this is Texas. We are straight shooting people. Come in and look me in the eye, shake my hand, and let's sit down and talk about what we need to do. This is not hard. I'm a good guy. I like good people, and I've had lots of experience doing this kind of stuff. And I'd love to meet somebody that's, of importance in the LDS Church, where we can look at each other in the eye and say, well, this is what we need to do, or this is why we think this is a good idea. And I've tried to convey through some of the writings I did through the Dallas Morning News about, they may be surprised. It may not be quite as bad as what they think it's going to be.
Yeah, they may be drawing a conclusion that is not accurate. So would it
because they're not
surprise
talking to us.
because they don't know what you think, because
Yeah.
they are not speaking to you exactly. Would it surprise you to know that we get on Mormonish a lot of emails and messages from faithful members of the church in your area that say, I wish this wasn't happening. I'm embarrassed at how my church is behaving. And also faithful members that even send us information, maybe letters or something from the stake and saying, maybe you can use this to kind of let people know what's going on. Would you be surprised at all to hear that some faithful members are saying, oh, come on, let's just not anymore. The fabric of the community is at stake here.
So we've had in the August meeting that was so well attended by so many people. We had a couple of LDS folks stand up, young people, basically saying, there's no issue with I was going to say antenna, with Aspire.
Yeah.
I regularly get letters, emails from people in former LDS and current LDS. And you used one word, they're embarrassed and ashamed. That's how some of them start. Yeah. I'm embarrassed and ashamed how my church is treating your town. And I had a guy who wrote me from Cody, an LDS guy from Cody, talking about the way it went, because we follow all that stuff, but he was giving me advice, basically, how to deal with this and be careful. This is what they're going to do. And then sometimes, we had this zoning defense fund. I have a story that I had this elderly, I know she's elderly because she told me what her age was. So she's older than me, and that's elderly. But she's from Kentucky, of all places. And she was Catholic and then got married and converted to LDS. And her husband died. Then she went back to Catholicism. And she wrote me this 3 or 4 page letter just telling me of how bad that this church is, and she's ashamed. Matter of fact, those were the words in her letter: ashamed and embarrassed, even though she's not a member anymore. But she sent me a $25 check for our zoning defense fund, so that was a big deal. But I have people that write longhand. I've gotten 7-8 page letters from active LDS members talking about how we're being abused, basically, by the town of Fairview is being abused by the church, and the issue for me and all that kind of stuff is, again, I know it's a very kind of closed society within the Mormon world or LDS world. Things don't go up; they come down in the hierarchy, and
yes,
that's we're United States citizens. We have a say in everything that goes on, and everybody ought to have their voice. And people, if there are people within their church that have a problem with what's going on, they're literally afraid in some cases, what they tell me, to say something because their local bishop has the ability to basically excommunicate them. And, that's their problem. But, we want to talk to them. That's the big deal for me right now. I'm using every media opportunity I get to put that message across. I want to visit with somebody up in the hierarchy of the LDS Church. I specifically named Bednar once because he's come out with there's no such thing as a small temple. There's size doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, why do you care then if it's 120 feet or 70 feet on the temple you want to put in Fairview? What difference does it make? Well, is it just because you have to win? Is that your negotiating stance? I have to win.
Well, there is that point of view, and I've seen this from other faithful social media, that if we bend here, if we give a foot, this is for all the temples going forward, right? Yeah. And our lupa and all of that. But that's just a completely flawed argument, because all temples can go through the civic process in the towns where they want to build something that is a blessing and neighborly to both residents and the church. That's not true, not at all. So, but it's an argument, I think, that the LDS members somehow have kind of gotten their head. And I know that in your area coming up, I think next week, there's going to be some religious freedom seminars taught by an LDS professor or attorney, So I think maybe that rhetoric is out there, that we're being attacked, persecuted, we need to protect. And that is not true. There is always the civic process. You will always be able to go into a town working with them, and not using religious privilege. But I think people are afraid. They're kind of encouraged to be afraid. And that isn't a benefit to anybody. That doesn't help anyone.
Yeah.
One of the things that we hear, that we've seen, or that you've been accused of, is bad mouthing the church in the press, or saying negative things about the church in meetings or what have you. How are you supposed to share any frustration that you have if nobody will talk to you?
Well, that's a really good question. So, you haven't heard me use any of those words tonight at all. So I cut that out about a couple of months ago intentionally, because I know it offends some people within their church. And but if you go talk to some of our residents, they would not be so constrained as I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a frustrating situation.
Well, the issue is, I'll go back to it again. You just need to talk to us. It's not that bad. You'll be surprised at what you may come out of this with, and you might be very pleased. Just meet us halfway. And again, I'm willing to come to Salt Lake City. I'd love to come to Salt Lake City. I've been there before. I've been to Temple Square, toured the whole thing. I'm come up again, see what's up. Matter of fact, one LDS member up there wrote me a very nice note. This is just a couple of days ago. He had heard that I was thinking about coming up there, and he offered to give me a tour of some of the new temples that are being built up there, which I certainly would take him up on.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway,
there's a lot of construction. Yeah.
But that's, I watch what's going on, but he was being empathetic and sympathetic to us, our cause. And, but inviting me to come up and let's go tour some temples while you're up here, go see what they are. And I've been in temples before.
Well, that's what's it seems we're so close. It's so easy to have a win-win here. The church gets a temple, the city gets it built within their ordinances, and everybody's happy. And I felt like we were that close, and then all of a sudden, now it feels like it's a lose-lose. They're suing. The town ends up spending millions of dollars trying to fight this, and it doesn't need to be there. We're so close to a win-win.
And the headline says LDS Church bankrupt small town. That's a lose for them. There is no win-win in the way it's going. Exactly.
Yep. They will, again, I look forward to the opportunity to meet somebody who I can talk to, look in the eye to eye, shake his hand or her hand. I know there's no hers, but his hand.
There are no hers.
And have a good conversation about this. I want to hear what their concerns are. I want to give them our residents' concerns. But I'll go back to, the 120-foot deal that we agreed to. I think that'll pass. They need to start the process.
There it is. And you heard it. So have you or anyone, that works with you or around you reached out to like the church PR, to try to request? I mean, there are ways. There's, on their website, it says send requests, have you tried anything like that yet to try to, kind of on a press tour to try to put it out there?
So I know of, again, another letter I got from someone. This person copied me on a letter that she wrote to President Nelson.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and it was an LDS person. I'm guessing he never saw it, but it was an LDS person, kind of following up on, hey, you need to have let these guys, you need to meet them halfway kind of thing. It was one of the longer letters that I've received, and it comes in an envelope. Many times sometimes they come to me with no names, which is also kind of interesting. But again, they're afraid. But no, we haven't pursued. We've gone through the attorneys. That's our only way. The attorneys know, the mediator knows, the attorneys that are representing the church here in Dallas know, and pretty much what the feedback so far has been, just no, we're not going to do that. So that's where I'm stuck with. I'm going to talk to the media as much as I can, all media, and we may be taking a plane ride. John and I may be taking a plane ride to Salt Lake City soon, and see who shows up and wants to talk to us.
Yeah, well, we're here, and we would love to talk to you guys.
Well, maybe we'll have a visit with y'all, but stand on the steps of the big temple up there and have a news conference.
Yeah,
Or
no, I feel like that could happen. And you have a number of other places that you're talking to people and talking to reporters, and just like you said, just trying to get your message out, because that's really all you can do. So I think that's great that you have all these things coming up, and we're all watching it with a great deal of interest, and the whole story of Fairview. Like I said, most of the people that reach out to us, and sounds like you too, are active members of the LDS Church
yep,
that just say enough is enough.
yep.
I can't defend this anymore. And I'm not exaggerating when I'm talking about how many people reach out to us like this, and also things I see on Faithful social media. People are just like, this is not what Jesus would do. I see that over and over. Who would Jesus sue? They make that joke, but it's not a joke. It's
No,
really
it's not. No, it's not.
something, who would WWJS, I guess is what they're trying to say. And
Well,
I know that the LDS Church cares about their members and what they think. And I would think that the leadership would care, that their members who are there with you. I mean, you are the elected mayor of all the LDS residents too.
everyone who
That's
lives
the
in
thing.
Fairview, absolutely.
Yes. Yep.
And I grew up in this church, LDS. I'm still a member on the records.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing that has bothered me the most is the very thing I was taught is you talk things out, you work things out, you try to do things, face to face. You don't bring lawyers in, you don't do that kind of stuff. That you get human and just interact with each other. And this height thing is just blows my mind, because if they announced a temple in my city, I wouldn't care what it looked like when I was, an active member. You're just thrilled that you're getting one. And you could show me the Paris, France one. You could show me the Yorba Linda, and I'd be going, those are wonderful. It's a temple. You don't sit there and analyze it and say, well, it's not tall enough, it's not wide enough, it's not big enough. You say, oh my gosh, it's nearby, and I get to use it. So everything they're doing just seems completely opposite of what we as members would expect, because that's the way we were taught, and that's the way we grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking solves a lot of problems.
It sure does. Yep. Sure
Yep.
does.
And that's the bottom line. That is absolutely the bottom line. So, well, thank you so much for being with us and, sharing a little bit about yourself and your background, and especially about Fairview. And tell us, how many residents are there in Fairview? We keep talking about it. We haven't let everybody know the size of the town. That's important too.
Yeah, we're about 11,000.
Okay.
We're 9.2 square miles, so
Okay.
we're boxed in. We're never going to grow anymore. We have Allen, McKinney, on other bigger towns adjacent to us, but in our residential area, the one we're talking about with the Temple people, that is almost built out. We probably only have 30 more lots or something to build on. Again, they're all 2-acre lots. And then on the west side of town, which goes along what we call Central Expressway, US 75, we have large commercial area there. We have a large kind of an outdoor mall that's there, Penny's and Dillard's and that kind of stuff, restaurants. That's where that's where all the multifamily, we have apartments over there, really nice apartments. We have a large office building there that was built, Lincoln Properties built. It's now occupied fully. We have a deal going on with Billingsley's, which is a huge developer here. They're going to put millions of square feet of office space up in the northwest corner of our town. It's all great for property tax and that kind of stuff. But again, every time we talk about this, what matters? Keep the traffic away from our town, keep the lights away from our town, keep the noise away from our town. And all of the developers we work with, by the way, they go right along with us. The Billingsleys especially, they've been very, very cooperative in limiting access from their property. Again, it's 242 acres coming out, exiting onto a road that would take you into the east side of town. And there's only one exit that way, and all the other ones go out towards the expressway. So everybody works with us, is kind of my point of all that. We work
and are there decision makers working with you? Are decision makers from all of these organizations?
These are all
you and the committees and the town decision makers. Okay. Yeah.
There's also, let me say something else, because, I made the comment, we have 8 other houses of worship, religious buildings in our town, one of which is the meeting house. And I know, except for one, I know the pastors there. And every one of them went through this process. They went through a conditional use process, and they worked with the town to come up with how they can, how tall the building can be, what it has to look like, what kind of landscaping it has, how's the lighting in the parking lot. All of that stuff was done. And guess what? Everybody's happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my point. We are not unreasonable. These folks in Salt Lake City need to talk to us, and they will find we are not unreasonable. We aren't good if they come in and just say it's going to be. That doesn't work, but we are very reasonable people.
There it is. Mayor Lessner has said it. Landon, do you have any final thoughts? I think this has been really enlightening and just wonderful, wonderful discussion.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be able to have met you, Mayor Lessner, and we're grateful that you were willing to come on and talk to us. As you know, we've been covering this for a long time, so to be able to talk to you has just been a thrill for us, and I think for a lot of our listeners, they're like, "Who is this guy?" He's
he's a hero. Yeah, you've got a cape on. You've kind of got a Superman cape on for a lot of people.
Well, you guys are rock stars in Fairview, so. We appreciate you paying attention to us, helping get our message out, and all the other information surrounding this that you guys provide. I mean, you guys do a lot of research. I'm very impressed by the quality of the research you guys do. It's really well done.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Well, we really hope that there's some kind of arrangement that you can come here and that you can meet with not just one decision maker, but maybe a group or a committee or a temple planner. Like it sounds like it used to be that way when there was a little confusion back and forth in towns. And I hope maybe they'll think back to those older days, maybe a couple decades ago, and that you will get an invitation. And if you don't get an invitation, I hope you come anyway, because what did they say? If the mountain won't go, if Muhammad won't go to the mountain, whatever, however that.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
Yep, that phrase.
Well, you're always welcome. We invite you out, even if you're not going to be invited out by the church.
That's right. We'll go out to dinner.
All right.
I think that's perfect.
Well, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks everybody for watching. And please, in the comments, let us know what you all think about Mayor Lessner and Fairview. I know most of you have been following this like we have. Some of you even have Fairview United t-shirts. Please let us know in the comments, and please like and subscribe to Mormonish Podcast. If you'd like to be made aware of when new episodes come out, you can hit that notification bell. If you would like to help financially support the podcast, we have links in the show notes to donor box, and we just absolutely love and appreciate each one of you that do donate to us. It allows us to have amazing guests like Mayor Lessner. We're still kind of like pinching ourselves about that. We have links in the show notes to our merch. You can get a Mormonish mug or something like that. And again, thank you so much, Mayor Lessner. And thank you, Lana, for co-hosting. We will see everybody next time on Mormonish Podcast. Bye, all.
God bless.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Mormonish. We really appreciate our listeners and would love to hear from you if you have a story you'd like to share. You can email us at mormonishpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website, mormonishpodcast.org. And don't forget to look for us on YouTube and like and subscribe. Keep joyful, everybody.